Before you take your first bite, your hand moves toward the salt. You don't plan it. You probably don't even notice it. A quick shake over the plate, and you're done. Today, salt is so ordinary that restaurants give it away for free. It sits beside the pepper, forgotten until you need it. But that tiny white crystal once shaped migration, trade, politics, and war. For your ancestors, finding salt wasn't about improving dinner. It was about staying alive. And the urge that makes you want salty fries today, that didn't begin in a restaurant. It began in a world where sodium was rare, scattered, and sometimes dangerously hard to reach. Your body is still living by the rules of that world. And once you understand those rules, that little shaker on your table starts to look completely different. Quick favor before we travel back in time. If you enjoy stories that connect your everyday habits to the ancient world, tap like and subscribe. We explore the forgotten reasons behind ordinary human behavior, and there's a lot more coming. Now, let's talk about why humans became obsessed with salt. Your body contains electricity. Not the kind that powers your phone, obviously, but tiny electrical signals moving through your nerves every second. Sodium helps make those signals possible. Your brain needs it to communicate with your body. Your muscles need it to contract. Your heart depends on carefully controlled electrical activity to keep beating. Even the amount of water inside and around your cells is influenced by sodium. So this isn't simply a flavor your tongue happens to enjoy. Sodium is part of the system keeping you alive. The problem is that your body can't manufacture it. You have to get it from the environment. That's easy today. Salt is hidden in bread, sauces, cereal, cheese, snacks, and frozen meals. You can consume a large amount without ever touching a salt shaker. The ancient landscape was different. Imagine a small group moving across East Africa thousands of generations ago. There are no farms, no stores, no packaged food, and definitely no neat containers filled with purified salt. The group eats roots, fruit, insects, meat, and whatever else the season provides. Some sodium comes from animal tissue, especially blood and organs. Some might come from mineral-rich water, plants, or soil, but these sources aren't evenly distributed. One valley might contain a salty spring. Another might have almost nothing. A mineral deposit could disappear after heavy rain, or become unreachable during a dry season. So how did early humans locate it? One answer may have been surprisingly simple. They watched animals. Across the world, animals go out of their way to find sodium. Deer gather around mineral deposits. Elephants dig into salty earth and rock. Other animals travel repeatedly to springs, caves, and riverbanks containing the minerals their bodies need. Early hunters were expert observers. They studied tracks, feeding patterns, migration routes, and watering places. Their survival depended on understanding where animals went and why. If several species kept returning to one patch of ground, humans had a reason to investigate. Maybe the soil tasted sharp. Maybe the water left a pale crust when it dried. Maybe animals had created a deep hollow by licking the same surface for years. Whatever the clue, people remembered it. Picture someone finding such a place. She kneels near the edge of a drying spring. The mud is lighter than the surrounding earth. She touches it, smells it, and carefully tastes a small amount. The flavor is unpleasant, but familiar. She calls the others. For a short time, the group has found what their bodies were asking for. There's no scientific language for what's happening. No word like sodium, but language isn't necessary. The body recognizes the answer. That knowledge becomes valuable. The location may be remembered through landmarks, stories, or repeated journeys. Children learn where to go by following adults who learned the route years earlier. Long before maps existed, people carried maps inside memory. But wild mineral sources had limits. They weren't always nearby. They couldn't easily be transported. And when humans moved constantly, they had to leave useful places behind. For hunter-gatherers eating plenty of animal food, This problem may have been manageable. Meat and organs naturally provided minerals that modern processing often removes or redistributes. Then humans began changing the way they lived. Around the end of the last ice age, communities in several regions started settling down. They planted crops, stored grain, raised animals, and built more permanent homes. Agriculture brought enormous advantages. A field could support more people than the surrounding wilderness. Grain could be dried and stored. Villages grew. Populations increased. But farming also changed the human diet. Instead of eating a constantly shifting mixture of wild plants and animals, many communities became heavily dependent on a few crops: wheat, barley, millet, rice. These foods provided calories, but a grain-dominated diet didn't always provide the same mineral balance as a diverse foraging diet. At the same time, permanent settlements created new needs. People wanted to preserve meat, fish, vegetables, and dairy products. They needed food to survive winter, drought, travel, and failed harvests. Salt could help. Suddenly, it wasn't only something the body craved, it was technology. People discovered that salty water could be heated until the water disappeared, leaving crystals behind. Coastal communities could use seawater. Inland communities could collect brine from natural springs. Others mined solid deposits from the ground. The process sounds simple. It wasn't. Imagine carrying heavy pots of brine from a spring. Then imagine keeping those pots over a fire for hours while gathering enough wood to maintain the heat. Clay vessels cracked, water spilled, smoke burned the eyes. And after all that work, only a layer of crystals remained. But those crystals could be carried. That changed everything. A mineral once trapped in one location could now travel to villages many miles away. People could exchange it for tools, food, cloth, animals, and other valuable goods. Salt became part of a network. And networks have a habit of becoming power. If your community controlled a productive salt spring, other communities needed something you had. If you controlled the road leading away from that spring, you could tax what passed through it. As cities expanded, salt moved with them. It preserved food for soldiers and travelers. It supported communities far from natural deposits. It crossed mountains, rivers, grasslands, and deserts. In some places, blocks of salt became valuable trade goods. Caravans carried them across the Sahara through heat that could kill an unprepared traveler within hours. Salt connected distant regions because everyone needed it, but not everyone could produce it. Governments understood that. For centuries, rulers controlled salt production and placed taxes on its sale. A tax on a luxury could be avoided. A tax on something necessary was much harder to escape. That's why salt repeatedly became political. In France, anger over the salt tax became one symbol of an unfair system before the French Revolution. In British-controlled India, the government restricted salt production and taxed a substance ordinary people needed. In 1930, Mahatma Gandhi walked to the sea and made salt as an act of resistance. He wasn't protesting bland food. He was challenging the idea that an empire could claim ownership over a basic human necessity. For thousands of years, salt remained closely connected to labor, transportation, authority, and survival. Then, industry transformed it. Machines dug deeper mines. Large evaporation facilities processed enormous amounts of brine. Railways and ships moved the finished product cheaply across the world. A substance that once required dangerous journeys and endless labor became inexpensive. Humanity finally defeated salt scarcity, but our biology didn't receive the update. The brain that once rewarded us for finding a rare mineral still responds strongly to salty food. The difference is that the modern food industry can place that reward inside almost anything. Salt isn't waiting at a distant spring anymore. It's in the chips at the gas station. It's in the sandwich you bought for lunch. It's in sauces, soups, pizza, and foods that don't even taste especially salty. Your ancestors had to search for sodium. You have to make an effort to avoid it. That's the strange reversal. The craving was built for scarcity, but now it operates in abundance. Your body isn't broken. It's following ancient instructions perfectly. Find salt. Remember where it came from. Enjoy the reward. Look for it again. Those instructions helped generations survive environments where an essential mineral could be difficult to find. They just weren't designed for supermarkets. So the next time your hand reaches for the salt shaker, pause for a second. Inside that automatic movement is an ancient story. People tracked animals to mineral soil. They remembered hidden springs. They carried brine in fragile pots and watched water disappear over fire. They transported salt across deserts, built markets around it, taxed it, fought over it, and used it to challenge empires. Now it's sitting quietly beside your dinner. Cheap, clean, effortless. The mineral didn't change. The world around it did. And somewhere beneath conscious thought, your body is still celebrating the end of a search that began long before history had a name.